News Nation correspondent Marley Caden joining us now with more insight on what these drops could mean for your wallet. So Marley, good to see you. What happened with these tech companies and how did the pandemic play into this?
Well, both businesses grew because of the pandemic, right? We had a lot of time at home. And then when we weren't required to be at home, people didn't want to leave the house to buy things. So enter Netflix for entertainment and Amazon for pretty much everything else. Amazon's is not a long-term issue, though. Their losses mostly stem from a one-time loss in an investment in an electric car maker called Rivian. They took an almost $8 billion hit on that. Now, if you take that out, Amazon would have been profitable by close to $4 billion. Netflix's issues could be longer term, though. This was their first user drop in more than a decade. 700,000 of those were reportedly from the service exiting Russia. But the greater issue is that the streaming business expects to lose 2 million more subscribers next quarter. That signals that Russia is not the only problem here, Ruta Bay.
And companies like Netflix and Amazon, they have these huge staffs, they have brilliant people. They must have recognized what was happening and built contingency plans, right?
Amazon doesn't really need one here. Their loss was mostly due to that one-time hit from an investment that didn't pan out. Their lesser issues here are inflationary and supply chain related, and they will eventually resolve. People will still want to use Amazon because it's convenient. Netflix is a different story. They should have started developing new plans once the world resumed. I was surprised there wasn't a plan when they announced just how bad the first quarter was because they knew it was coming. Cracking down on password sharing might help here, but it is not the answer.
And what happens now? Are these companies going to recover?
Netflix is going to try. They're going to adopt an ad-based subscription service, but whether that will work and appeal to people who don't already have Netflix, who knows? Amazon will be fine. There could be some layoffs of workers they hired to meet pandemic needs, but that will cut some costs. But their most profitable business is still doing well. They don't need to make any major corrections here.
And we've seen some of these companies in the streaming business revert back to ad-based revenue as opposed to subscriptions. Is that something we're going to see a lot of?
I don't think so. The other services aren't struggling like this. HBO actually reported a huge growth in subscribers during the first quarter. So right now, it's just Netflix going that way.
And you mentioned it before, during the pandemic, we saw everyone buying a lot of stuff, right? Commercial stuff. Now consumers are changing their spending habits. They're focused more on service-driven industries like restaurants and movies. Is that part of the equation in all of this?
It certainly could be. I mean, for Netflix, yes, people have less money for non-essentials and discretionary spending like streaming subscriptions. They also want those experiences, right, at the movies. So Netflix is going to have to spend billions here to be successful. They need to put out quality content and they need to get it out fast to be competitive. They also need to find a way to draw in new subscribers while still keeping the ones that they already have and still being profitable while doing all of that. For Amazon, people will always want to use their services, I think, whether it be their web services, their cloud to store the photos and data, or of course Amazon Prime, where you can get everything you need in 2 days. Even as spending habits change and have been changing, necessities, including groceries, can be purchased on Amazon. So I think they'll always be useful and we'll see a much faster turnaround with them.
And when you think about how everyone likes to binge watch things on TV and on Netflix, and then how long it actually takes to create that content, you can kind of understand why. All right, Marley, thank you. And